You have walked past someone who needed help. Maybe you told yourself you were late. Today there is a child in shallow water, and you are the only one there. Wading in costs you your suit and the interview that could lift your family out of poverty. Stay, and a stranger's child lives. Go, and your own children eat. What do you owe a stranger? This is Philosophy Wars. Let us begin.
A child is in the water. Notice what the mind does next. It begins to count the suit, the interview, the hours, the years. Siddhartha Gautama taught that suffering has a cause, and the cause is clinging. What is being clung to here is not the suit. It is a story about a future that has not happened yet. The child in the pond is happening now. Compassion does not arrive after the arithmetic is finished. It arrives before. Tell me this. If you must first calculate whether to help, has something already been lost?
Something has been lost, yes. But losing it is not the same as being wrong. Albert Camus wrote about a doctor in a plague city who did not ask why. He simply went to work, house after house, because people were dying in front of him. The universe offers no reason to save the child. It offers no reason not to. That silence is the honest starting point. What answers it is not serenity. It is a body in cold water, ruining good cloth, because another body cannot breathe. Meaning is made there. It is not discovered.
Serenity is not the opposite of wet clothes. Your doctor did not pause. When your own house is burning, you do not first price the furniture, you move. The suit becomes heavy only in the mind that is already halfway to the interview. But consider what you called silence. A drowning child is not silent. There is splashing, and there is breath, and there is a body that wants to keep living. The universe may say nothing. This small piece of it is saying something quite loud. Why do you need the whole cosmos to speak?
I do not need it. I need it to stay quiet, so I stop waiting for permission. Camus called it revolt, and revolt is not a mood. It is a man refusing to let a thing happen while he stands there. But your fire in the house is too easy. Nobody stands beside a burning house holding an envelope that could change their children's lives. This one is harder. The interview is not vanity. It is rent and shoes and a daughter who might finish school. You have made the suit trivial. Make the case against the daughter.
There is no case against the daughter. There is a question about where she ends. You hold two children apart, yours and this one, as though the line between them were solid. Look for that line. Nagarjuna spent a lifetime looking and found nothing standing on its own. Everything leans. Your daughter's school was built by strangers. Her food was grown by hands you will never shake. Ask yourself which of your own two hands you would save if only one could be dried. The question is malformed. Whose child is drowning when no child is entirely anyone's?
That is beautiful, and I do not trust it. Dissolve the line, and you dissolve the person who has to act. A hand does not choose. A father does. Camus wrote about a rebel who says no, and the no comes from someone standing somewhere with something to lose. Solidarity is not the discovery that we were never separate. It is two separate people holding on anyway. Picture a man carrying water up a hill for a neighbor he dislikes. He knows exactly where he ends and the neighbor begins. He carries the water. That is worth more than a metaphysics that makes the carrying automatic.
Nothing about it is automatic. The carrying is the practice, but notice what your father is protecting, not his daughter. A picture of his daughter in a year that has not arrived. Interviews are given to other people. Thich Nhat Hanh spoke of holding things the way you hold water, with an open hand. The pond is certain. The job is a rumor. When you weigh a living child against a possibility, you are not being practical. You are trading something real for something imagined and calling it responsibility. How much of your family's future are you actually holding in that envelope?
Very little. That is exactly the absurd, and you have just described it well. We plan across a future that owes us nothing and answers no letters. Sisyphus pushes his rock knowing the summit is a lie. He pushes anyway. But uncertainty does not settle the question by itself. If the job were guaranteed, the child would still be drowning. So the guarantee was never doing the work. What does the work is a decision made without cover. You will not know if you chose well. Nobody grades this. You wade in, ruin the cloth, and live afterwards with a soaked man's arithmetic. Freedom is not comfortable. It is just yours.
Then consider the man who does not wade in. He arrives dry. He answers every question well. He is offered the position, and he takes it home to his children. Something came with him out of that water. Not guilt, exactly. A closed place. Dukkha is not punishment. It is the shape a life takes around a turning away. Ask what his children inherit. A better house, and a father who learned that a stranger can be stepped over when the price is right. The suit was never the cost. The cost was who walked into the room wearing it.
Careful. You have just made the child a lesson about the man. If I save her to keep my inner house in order, she has become furniture. She is owed the rescue whether or not it improves me. A woman pulls a stranger from a car and cannot sleep for a year. She was still right. So yes, I go into the water, I miss the interview, I go home and tell my children what happened, and I look for other work. Camus never promised the rebel wins. He said the rebel is not alone. That is the entire consolation on offer.
Take the sentence you keep returning to. The universe is silent, and solidarity is the only honest answer to that silence. Look at the joint between those two claims. Nothing holds them together. If the cosmos issues no instruction, it issues none about solidarity either. You could revolt by taking the job. You could revolt by walking to the sea and never coming back. Camus wants the silence to rule out false comfort, then asks it to rule in a wet man and a saved child. It cannot do both. Something is being smuggled in, and it looks very much like compassion arriving before the argument that supposedly produced it. And there is a second cost. A revolt is a permanent argument with the world. You are still demanding an answer, still clenched. The child gets pulled out either way. One of you is exhausted.
Here is where your position thins out. No self, no solid line between my child and yours. You use it to dissolve the dilemma rather than answer it. But every word you have spoken assumes an agent. Someone must notice the pond. Someone must decide. Someone eats the loss and explains it at home. Strip the self, and there is no one left to pull anyone out. Worse, the knife cuts both directions. If my daughter's hunger is a construction, so is the child's drowning. A teaching that relieves suffering by demoting it into illusion has not relieved anything. It has changed the subject. Compassion needs a face, and a face is particular. I would rather be a limited man who wades in for one specific child. He knows exactly what it cost him. That is better than a wave insisting it was never separate from the water.
We arrive at the same water from different directions. You would not call it interdependence. You call it two people in the cold, holding on. The word matters less than the wading. Where we part is what happens after. You keep your fist raised at a sky that will not answer. My teacher would ask what that fist is for. The child is out. The suit is finished. The interview is gone. What remains is a man, dripping, with a family to face, and no quarrel with the way things are. Both of us stopped. Only one of us is still arguing.
Still arguing, and glad of it. The quarrel is what keeps me honest when the pond is far away and the suffering is somebody else's country. But you are right about one thing, and it is not small. The calculation was never neutral. A man doing sums beside a drowning child has already begun to leave. We agree on the act. We will never agree on the ground under it. You find no separation. I find no reason and act anyway. Two men walk out of that water soaked, and the child is breathing, and the universe says nothing at all.
Thank you for watching and listening. Subscribe to never miss a debate.